let's give a warm welcome to Brian Devine.
Thank you. All right, everyone can hear me okay? Yes? Yes. All right, good, good. Okay, so this is step one is yes, I do like interaction. So if I ask a question, I really would love an answer. This is, and Emil wasn't exaggerating, 2 years ago, I had people asking me about reputation management, reputation marketing, and I wasn't all that concerned about it. But I started doing the research just to make sure it wasn't something that we needed to make sure that we could handle and help people with. And in the last really year to 16 months is when we started to see this crossover. And all kinds of new data was coming out showing that just because you're a doctor used to mean that you're trusted, right? So you have doctor in front of your name, people assume that you're an expert, you are now a trusted advisor. Those days are starting to go away, and they're going away fast. So this was new as we started to get this data. So what has changed is people are starting to look for your reputation online, how you are perceived and shown online, so that they can make a decision. So this has really changed things. So now, everyone notice I've got my happy shoes on? Okay? And the reason I wore the shoes was not just because they're really fun, but because you have to actively create your reputation. So, coolest shoes in the room, that's the reputation I'm creating right now. Hashtag coolest shoes in the room. So the reason that I want you thinking about creating your reputation is because some people don't really think about creating their reputation. When you see this symbol, do you think trust? Okay, so if you're not in control of your reputation, you're not actively engaged with it, someone else will control your reputation. And it's not hard to do. Obviously, we're not on a national stage at this point, but it is just as important. How many have heard of this company? How many can think of bad things about this company? I can only think of like one thing in the last 2 years. They actively create their reputation. From the person that cleans up at the resorts all the way to the CEO. So there's no gap. So every little piece is being considered and thought about. So I want you thinking about it in that respect. So what is online reputation marketing? And sometimes you'll hear ORM. And if you get a lot of those phone calls in your office from all over the world where they're saying, hey, we can help you with your ORM, things like that, that's what they're talking about. It's your online reputation marketing or management. I prefer the term marketing because just managing your reputation is a piece of it, but why not take it the step further and actually utilize your reputation to build your practice instead of just trying to protect? And there are ways to do that. So what is it? It's the process of proactively using tools, processes, and systems to be aware of and influence the conversation that is taking place about you and your practice online. What are we talking about here? Well, let's break it down. First thing we're talking about is proactive. So it's not just finding out that somebody is upset and trying to react to it. It's about actively creating that reputation for yourself. And there are ways that we'll do it. We'll talk about specific ways. The other thing I want you to notice is that we talk about processes and systems. So if you do have something happen that you're not happy with or that somebody is upset, you have a system in place that you simply implement rather than get upset. Now you probably will, I know I get upset if somebody says something negative, but if you have a system in place, it's much easier to deal with. And the last thing is influence. Now we can't twist arms and make people not say bad things about us. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Nobody's perfect. We're going to make mistakes. Somebody's going to get upset. You have a whole team of people that you've got to make sure they're always happy, so that, the happier your team, the happier your patients. So influencing the conversation is about the best we can do, and that is key. What are the stakes? There is actually a long answer, but I like the short answer better. Everyone is online. In your field, in orthodontics, your demographic, they're all online. Not some, not all of them. And they all have an opinion and love to share their opinion. So the stakes are huge. We want to make sure that we stay in front of it. I thought this was interesting. I started to research kind of what was happening, who was talking about reputations, who was talking about offices. And I started to get some really interesting data. It's not just existing patients. Now, obviously, if you have an existing patient that's really happy, very excited about their treatment, that's the person you want talking about you. But then there's the ex-patients that might still be really happy or not. So we all know that that has happened where you've had a patient come in from another office and they're like, why does my mouth do this? And you're like, oh, we don't want to say anything bad, but you know you're going to have to fix it. So those are the ex-patients. Then you have competitors, and yes, as things get more competitive, as you end up with an area that used to have 5 doctors that now has 25 doctors, things are getting more competitive, and it's not hard for a competitor to go and say something negative. I know no one in this room would do that, but it still happens every once in a while. So think about that. Disgruntled employees. Has anyone ever had people leave that were not thrilled that they were leaving? That's the engagement part, so just like a, yeah, okay, yeah, thank you. All right, we're friends now. Okay. So we have ex-spouses. And again, one of those things that I hadn't really thought about, but it does happen. You have an ex-spouse that's not happy, or, you know, for whatever reason things didn't go well, and they can really hurt a reputation. Or they can certainly help it if that discussion has already happened. Former business partners, certainly. So make sure that you always think about that stuff. And then, of course, there's the trolls. And those are the people that are just permanently aggrieved, right? There's nothing you can do. They're never going to be happy. They go out of their way to say terrible things, and that's who they are. So don't worry about them. That's going to happen. Reviews are now the center of search. Now, this was the big shift for me. When we saw this, we knew we had to help. Right now, Google purchased, this was a while ago, you probably already heard this, but Google purchased Zagat. So the question was, why would Google purchase Zagat? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Well, it does if you think about what Google wants. They want to own every possible aspect of social commenting that they possibly can. Now, they don't own Facebook, so they bought Zagat, and Zagat was a very common way for people to review restaurants, and people understood that review process. So they bought it, and then they integrated it way too quickly. And it kind of messed things up for us, but we're starting to settle out a little bit now. So we went from a 5-star rating to a 30-point rating. And it's a little bit different. I wish they'd go back to the stars. It's more intuitive for people outside of the restaurant industry. But it looks like they're going to stick with the score. So how do you get a 30 score? How do you get that score to show up? You have to have at least 10 reviews. So go get those 10 reviews. Get yourself a 28 or a 29 out of 30. If you get a 30 out of 30, how many people think that that's real? Probably not, right? Right in that 28, 29 out of 30 score is perfect, so have a team member throw in a less than perfect score every once in a while. All right. So they bought them, and then this is what happened. You do a search, you do not ask for reviews, and you get them. That was the big shift. So I don't know if you can see all that, but essentially what I had done is I just did a quick search, and then I did more searches, and I'm finding it all across the country. So they do this sort of rollout. And at first, we just saw it in a few areas. We saw it in Florida, and then we saw it in Colorado, and then we saw it everywhere. So what that means is if a patient is looking you up, or a prospective patient, they've been given the card from a dentist that says, here are the 3 orthodontists that I recommend. They're all good. And you all know that's pretty much what happens? Yes? Not getting happy faces. Okay, that is what happens. I used to work with the dental offices, and I watched them give referrals. And they reach into a drawer, they pull out a few cards, and they go, all right, here's the 3 that I recommend. They're all good. And little Johnny really does need braces. Give someone a call. So then they go do some search. They find out about you. And even if they weren't thinking, boy, I want to see how people have reviewed this office, they're getting that anyway. So you really want to be there. So if they have 3 offices to look at, and one of those offices has lots of good reviews, and you don't have any, or worse, negative reviews, who are they going to go to? Yeah, that was kind of an eye-opener. This is interesting. You've all heard the old adage, if you make someone happy, they'll tell one or two people, and if you make them upset, they'll tell anyone who will listen. Multiply that by a couple million. Right? That's some powerful stuff. So they will tell a couple thousand of their closest strangers online about their experience. This was the other thing that I thought was fascinating. There is a negative tilt when it comes to online marketing, when it comes to reputation, when it comes to people filling out those scores. So what we're showing here is, this was TripAdvisor. Everyone familiar with TripAdvisor? All right, so reviews of travel. And what they found was when they compared how people rated these places online versus actually filling out the survey at the hotels, there was a 3 times difference between negative and positive. So that means that people are much more apt to give a review in the extreme. So if they're unhappy, they're much more likely to go and say something about it on TripAdvisor. If they are extremely happy, they are more likely, you might want to find a way to nudge them a little bit to do that, but they are more likely. So the extremes are typically where we find people taking that activity. But that was fascinating to me, that there was a 3x change between positive and negative, just difference between online and offline. Any questions about that? Is that surprising to anyone? Yes, no, deer in the headlights? We're good. Okay. What else? For every half-star improvement in overall score, there's a 37% increase in appointments booked. That came from ZocDoc. Let me let that sink in. If you are on Yelp, if you are on CitySearch, if you're on Yellow Pages, and they're still using the star rating, if you overall can just increase that star rating by just half, if you're now at a 4 and you go to a 4.5, 37% increase in appointments booked. And this was for medical in general. That is amazing. So if you do an aggregate, if you take a look at all of your scores online, and you figure out kind of where you are, if you're at a 3, don't worry, you've got some work ahead of you, but think about the advantages of working on that, of fixing that, of getting that to a 3.5, to a 4, to a 4.5. Pretty powerful. 82% of people consider reviews extremely valuable in a referral to a dental practice. So what that's telling us is that if they've given a referral, friend, family, or a dental office has said this is the place to go, 82% still want to see reviews. So if you don't have any, that's almost as bad as having bad ones, because they want them. So make sure you're thinking about that. That came from Dr. Scott Consulting. That I thought was fascinating as well. So your patients are sharing their experiences more than ever before because it's easier. There are lots of places for them to do that. Things like HealthGrades, RateMD, ZocDoc, Yelp, Google+. So all the way from the very specific type of directories where people can fill out that information and share their experiences, to the more general, which is the Google. Right? Google covers everything, so it runs the gamut. And you don't really know where they're going to go or where they like to go, but we do know there's lots of stuff out there. A third of the U.S. consumers now trust social media to obtain healthcare information, discuss symptoms and care, share their feedback about their physicians. Full third. Now, who here loves social media? Thinks it's like the best thing, they can't wait to check it on their phones? All right. I don't ever use it for myself because I just find it a huge distraction. But a third of the U.S., a third, actually trust social media to get their healthcare information. Think it's a good idea to provide some healthcare information there? So you can become that trusted authority, that expert. And if you're not on social media, but you have your website, and it's all there. I don't need social media for that. Yes, you do. Because that's where they are. Does anyone but me think that social media is just such a waste? Anyone? Okay. All right. I just want to make sure it wasn't just me, but because we see these numbers and we see that this is all happening, we have to be there. Yes?
Go back to the slide, right?
You bet. Could I? Yeah, Google. Number one, absolutely number one. That's what most people are going to see and find, and it's pushed in front of you no matter what. So even if you know the office information and you do a search for an office, they will still, if it's connected to you properly, they'll still show a review. All right, so Google is absolutely first. Second is Yelp. And the way I had structured it here in this list was not sort of highest to lowest value, but from specific to general. So Yelp is, we in the industry call it the evil empire. Yeah. They have this filtering system. So we're pretty good at getting reviews to go through Yelp. And then Yelp says, you didn't pass our filter, sorry, it's not being shown. So we can speculate, but we really don't know. There are a few lawsuits right now against Yelp. I don't recommend that you ever try to sue your way out of a bad review. It's just going to cost you a ton of money, headaches. You're not going to win. So don't do it. But big companies, big organizations are starting to say you can't do that. Because the reality is, good example. Have you ever been driving down the highway complaining that there's terrible traffic because of an accident? Why are these people slowing down to look? And then as you drive by? Right? We all do that. Okay, so you have to, sorry. So you have to make sure that you're kind of adjusting for that. So Yelp is doing the same thing when it comes to these negative reviews, and what they're saying, what they're seeing, and again, this is speculation, we can't prove one or the other. They're seeing that when people see negative reviews, they're more likely to stop and look. Just like, you know, we call them casualty vampires. So they're more likely to look, and Yelp wants activity because Yelp sells ads. So as long as they get eyeballs, they're profitable. If they don't have eyeballs, they're not profitable. So if all of their reviews are super positive, wonderful, are they going to be as profitable? My instinct says no, but they still have to be fair, right? So that's what's happening with these lawsuits. Does that answer your question? All right. Anything else about this? No? Okay. Okay, any questions about the social media? Did I kind of beat it into you that social media is important? You can hate it all you want, but you have to do it. You can't pretend like it doesn't exist because it's there. All right. This was really interesting. 49% of dentists use Facebook professionally every day. I tried to get data on orthodontics specifically. I could not find it. This was about dentistry in general. It was done by a Pfizer survey. This is a really good sign to me. It shows that the dentistry community in general is starting to realize that you have to engage. If you're going to use social media, every day is going to be the way to do it. That doesn't mean that you personally have to engage every day on social media, but somebody should be doing something on social media every day so that you can stay engaged. And then when you are ready to engage, it doesn't look like you jumped in after 6 months and said something and then disappeared for 6 more months. So it's good to know that. All right, so I tried to beat it a little bit, kind of how important all this stuff is. There is a little bit of more data that I ran into. 2,000 US internet users conducted, this was a survey by ComScore, showed that they are willing to pay a 20% increase in service costs if they see a 5-star rating versus the same service receiving a 4-star. All right, so does anyone in here have competition in their area? See, that's where we all go, yes, yes. Okay. When you have this kind of competition, if you have that 5-star rating and your prices are a little bit higher, you don't have to justify it because they already know. They've already seen that. They're there because they've seen that you have these high ratings. So there's less opportunity, less chance for you to have to try to justify a higher fee. Pretty nice to know. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to work 100% of the time, but it sure does help. Nearly 1 out of every 4 internet users reported using online reviews prior to paying for a service delivered offline. So one of the questions that I do get a lot is, you know, we're a service, we're not, you know, online, we're not selling anything online, we're not too worried about those reviews. Look at that. People are going online for the reviews to go buy something offline all the time. And with the way phones are working today, They can be standing in a shop, look something up, look for reviews before they make a purchase. And that happens in the service industry as well. And it's going to keep getting more and more important. 97% of those surveyed said that they made a purchase based on an online review and said that they found the review to have been accurate. So a complete stranger tells them that it's good or that it's bad, and because they trust social media, because they trust that that's a real, honest review, it's implanted in their brain now that it's going to be accurate, good or bad. They're going to now, they don't want cognitive dissonance. Has everyone heard that term? Where your mind says that it should be one way, but the reality is different. Your brain will just kind of make them all one way. So that's what's happening. People trust social media. They will have the experience that they've decided they're going to have based on what they're reading. So make sure there's a lot for them to read that's really good. All right, so is your reputation out of control? And we're in Colorado. We have to have some kind of a reference to skiing, right? So does anyone feel like they're kind of falling down the mountain, not quite sure what to do? Or are you in control? Making nice, smooth curves, having a plan, knowing exactly how to react? Or do you feel a little like this? Not sure which way is up, which way is down. And no, I have never tried to do that. So let's press the easy button. I want to break all this down. So the idea here was to get you a lot of information about why it's important. So let's talk about how you can stay in front of it, because there's more to it than just knowing that it matters. Effective ORM, or online reputation marketing, should be proactive and reactive. We really want you to be thinking 90% proactive. Yes, things are going to be said about you that you're going to have to react to, and we'll talk about putting a plan together so that when that does happen, it is an eventuality that we'll all experience. But you'll have a system. You'll know what to do. Won't throw you back. So you can stick with that 90% of staying proactive. Combine your marketing, your SEO, public relations, branding, sales, customer service. All of that needs to be lined up with the reputation that you want. So your marketing can't sort of have this kind of reputation about quality, and then when your public relations stuff goes out, it's about some technique. You want them to always kind of match. Does that make sense? And I'm going to get on my high horse for just a minute, and then I'll get off it. Branding. Sort of a pet peeve of mine. Unless you've got a few $1 million to spend on a brand, the brand is you, not your logo, not the layout, not the colors, not the font. So spending a lot of money on trying to create this brand when you really can create it yourself drives me crazy. So I'll get off my high horse there, but I have heard entire talks about branding, and you just, as long as you have your systems in place, as long as when people come into your office, they are just treated beautifully and they love the experience, that's your brand. And sure, you want a logo so people can sort of remember and recognize, but unless you're just going to plaster that logo everywhere and spend a lot of money to create that brand, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on it. Cut across all core business functions. Does anyone know who the most important person is in their office? I'll give you a hint. It's not you. Right there. Yeah. So you said receptionist. The person who answers the phone. If you're ever someplace and you can't believe how wonderful the receptionist is and how well they treat you, from the phone call to walking through the door, the whole process, offer to pay them double whatever they're making, put them in your office. It's huge, and we tend to forget that. So the reason I'm saying all core business functions is because it really is from the phone call, that first initial phone call, all the way through the end of treatment. You might even think that we're not even talking about the lab or something like that. No, it's all a part of it. So really think through that. So let's talk about the 5 core principles. And this is where I sort of broke things down. I wanted to break it up into some basic core. Listen to what your patients are saying, contribute to that conversation, and we'll talk about ways to contribute, delight patients by exceeding their expectations. And we'll go into kind of what that means and why it's a little bit different than what you might have heard before. Collect your feedback, referrals, testimonials, have ways to do that, get that all in place. Plan how you'll respond before you need to. Let's jump in. Listen to what your patients are saying. And it might sound pretty simple, but there's actually a cool little tool. It's called Google Alerts. Does everyone have Google Alerts? Have they ever tested that out? Excellent, right on. Okay. It's a free tool that Google offers. You put in your information, so your name, your office name. You can throw in a couple of keywords that are local or specific to your practice. And then what it does is just aggregates. Any time that it sees those words, it pulls that data into your Google Alert. And then you can have them send you an email every day, every time they find it, which is a little much, every week, however you want. And you can really set this all up so that once a week you can say, all right, let's see what's going on. Has anything happened? Are we seeing anything going on? Now, it's not 100% accurate. It's not going to pull everything. And, we use scrapers and all this fancy software tools to do it. But it does a darn good job. I'd say it's about 90% there. So why not use it? Okay? Works really well. So where doesn't it work so well? Social media. But people are talking about offices and social media, so we've seen that, we know that. So there are some tools for that as well. Monitor those sites, blogs, forums, all that kind of stuff. We like Hootsuite, but TweetDeck is good, Social Mention is good, but these are places you can set up a free account and say, you know what, I just want to monitor these words, I want to see what's going on. Has anyone heard of a hashtag? All right, so hashtag is kind of this weird thing. I used to call it a pound sign. But essentially, the idea is that if you put a hashtag in front of a word, you can now search that word in social media. So let's say it's hashtag coolest shoes in the room. I can go to Hootsuite and say, search for all instances of hashtag coolest shoes in the room, and it'll pull all that up. So I can see what's going on. So what's been interesting is that Facebook has decided to do that. So now you have just this one tool, so whenever you put hashtag in front of something, it's searchable across multiple platforms now. I'm sure Google will come up with something different, but we'll see. So that's one of the easier ways to do that. But what's nice about Hootsuite and TweetDeck is that you can just put basic words, and it will search for it. We'll see what it can find for you. So if anything is going on social media, you get to know about it. Not too bad. Questions about that? All right. Contribute. How do we do that in a meaningful way? You can't control what people say, but you can certainly make sure that you're influencing that conversation, that you're adding to the conversation so that you can shift the ratio of negative to positive. Well, this is important. Let's say things have been going along just fine and you've got 4 or 5 nice reviews, or you don't have any, so you'd rather keep it that way. That means that you don't have to worry about it. All it takes is for one person. Remember that list of all the different types of people that might give you a review, good or bad? One of those people might decide to give you a negative review. Now you have one negative review that gets pulled by every search engine, and that's what people are going to see. So now you've got a lot of work to do, and it's going to take months to overcome that. Because it's not like you're just going to pull the trigger and have 15 great reviews just show up. Because if you were to do that, if you were able to get 15, 20, 30 reviews like tomorrow, all of the search engines, Google, Yelp, Healthgrades, all of them will filter those reviews because it's too much too fast, it's not natural. So you did the right thing, they're real reviews, but they're not going to show. So you really want to think about that. Get in front of it, don't wait, make sure that no matter what, the ratio is in your favor. Make sense? Yes, all right, good. I put in brackets there that you can also control what is seen, and we'll talk about that specifically, but that's kind of the fun part, is that you can, with some little tips and tricks and tweaks, when somebody's looking for a review on you, you can control what's seen. So you can make a bad review sort of disappear, so it's harder to find. I'll have to go to page 2 or 3 just to find it. That's kind of fun. Set up your profiles in all the key directories. Google Plus is the most important, and we talked about that. Absolutely do that. One of the things that we have been doing on a regular basis now, we used to be able to go to Google, type in your information, find your listing, claim it for you, we're done. Well, with Google buying Zagat and all these other little companies and all these aggregators, and an aggregator just means companies that pull data. It's just they're pulling data and putting it into a database. So they're buying all these up, and then every once in a while, you'll end up with 2 or 3 new listings on their map, on Google Local. That's a violation of their terms of service. Well, they created the violation for you because they just pulled up some slightly different data. There might have been a capitalization that wasn't in the original, so it showed up. So now what we're doing is, rather than putting in your information, we put your phone number. So this is a great thing to do. Put your phone number in there, in the map. So you go to google.com, go to the map, put in your phone number. And if you see more than one listing, claim them all. Get them all in there. And then you can merge them into one. And we actually have a client that has 22. Crazy. But there's just all of these different versions that have somehow come up, and you've got to get control of those. So that's why Google it's very important. Yelp, absolutely. Now, I will warn you, when you go into Yelp and you claim your listing and you set up your business account and all that, it's going to take you about 5 or 10 minutes. We're not talking about a whole lot. Once that happens, you're going to start getting a lot of phone calls from Yelp. And it's virtually impossible to call Yelp and get someone on the phone, but they'll sure call you. The reason they're doing that is because if you understand the value of those reviews, the value that Yelp offers, they're assuming that means you're willing to fork over at least $500 a month with the 12-month contract. And you get very little for it. I've had a hard time getting a clear return on investment from people doing that. And the reason we call them the evil empire is because one of the main reasons that we go and claim all these listings is because there's something negative that's showing up. So we want to get some control. We want to be able to respond. And then they start selling us ads. And then they'll help us with getting reviews placed. So that's a little bit, that's why I always get a little frustrated with them, because they claim to be able to help, but you're going to have to pay them for that help. So hopefully with this lawsuit, the couple that are going on, they'll clean up their filters so that legitimate reviews will stay. Any questions about what you see here? There are a lot of directories. You don't have to do them all. These are some of the key ones. Make sure that you have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you don't have anyone in your practice that can help you with social media, don't set up social media accounts like Facebook and LinkedIn. Twitter. LinkedIn is just fine. LinkedIn is 90% business to business. Have your profile there, set that all up, make it look nice and professional. And if you never post to that ever, no one will be surprised, because most people don't. So that's not going to cause any issue. If you set up Facebook, Twitter, Google+, all of these different places where there should be activity, if and when they find you there and there's no activity, or it's sporadic, or it's stopped for 3 months, they don't think that you're in business anymore. And people really do think that. So if you can't keep it up, just leave it alone. Still go to Hootsuite, free account, and you can monitor. Make sense? Okay, all right. Start blogging. If anyone in the room has heard me talk before, I bring up blogging probably every presentation. The reason for it is it's so powerful. And if you think about wanting to have social media, create a blog and put your social media sharing buttons on there so that you can have some more engagement. Post on subjects that will help your patients, but not always about orthodontics, about dentistry. Think about local things, something that is actually helpful, so that you become more of the hub, as opposed to, well, they're going to talk about teeth today, over and over again. So it's not just that. Now, you still want that. Remember, we said people are going to social media to get information about healthcare, so provide some of that. But you also want to do sort of the fun stuff, and that's what creates the engagement. So having a blog really, really helps with that. 60% of physicians say they either use or would like to use social networking sites to engage their patients to enhance their reputation. I thought that was kind of fascinating. That 60% get it, it'll help. So if you want to stay in control of your reputation, you want to build it, you want to enhance it, create it, blogging is a great way to go. So now it's just a matter of doing it. The other thing is, if you are going to take the time to create blog posts or have somebody on your team that creates these posts, put them in your newsletter. Now, does everyone do a newsletter? One? Anyone else? Does anyone here use Televox, Sesame, Smile Reminder, anything like that? Keep your hands up. You do realize that they have built-in services for the newsletters? Even if it's electronic, it's better than not doing it. I'm just as bad. I have everything at my disposal. I just don't have time, so guess what? We're going to just hire a writer just to make sure that it happens. We just have to do that. You have to be there. But this is an easier way to do it. So rather than just pull in some of the boring information that those services provide, so you can kind of, I don't know if you see, I just know Sesame, you can drag and drop some stuff, put it in there, and you're done. Well, if you're already blogging, put that into your newsletter too. That can save you a little time and effort. Questions? Okay. Make educational videos, post them to YouTube. Now, does everybody have a YouTube channel? All right. Couple? 2, 3? Good. Any given video stands about a 50 times better chance of appearing on the first page of results, and that means Google search results, than any given text page in the index. 50 times. So when I talk about video marketing, this is why. We just have a better chance. So if you put in a search term like Denver orthodontist, and it comes up with somewhere around, you probably know, 10 million pages, something like, I mean, it's astronomical. So there's a ton. So the chances of your one page showing up on there, pretty tough. You got to really know what you're doing, and you're going to have to work pretty hard on each page just to get it to show up in there. It's tough. But a video, you do the same search in video. Well, when we first started doing it, it was like 2,000. So your competition was really low. Now it's probably in the million mark, but it's still a lot more doable. And 90% of the people that put videos on YouTube don't know how to optimize them. So if you do some basic things, you can get that video to show. The basic things, put your keyword in the name of your file. So let's say you do a talking head video. Does everyone know if I say talking head video, you know what that means? All right, so you either sit down, stand up. I always recommend stand up so you have a little energy. And you kind of see this, right? The video frame is right about here. And you talk. And you tell them about why you should wear a retainer for 2 years. Otherwise, you're coming back in, right? So you can talk about that. So that's sort of the talking head video. If you are not comfortable in front of, well, let me go back to, so you have a talking head video, you save it, save your file, and put the keyword in the name of your file. Everyone forgets to do that. That one's free. But it really does make a difference. When you put the title, when you load it up into YouTube, put the keyword in your title in there. It all helps. You don't want to throw like 20 keywords into the title, 30 keywords into the description, and 400 keywords into the tags. That's big time overkill, and it won't work. But just think through it. If you can get a keyword that makes sense, and I'm sorry, I just assume everyone knows what a keyword is. It's just what people use to search. So a keyword could be Denver orthodontist. It could be a state, right? Michigan orthodontist. So think through that kind of stuff. Where do you want to be found? How local do you want it to be? And then put that in there. And the more local you get, the more likely it is to show up. Does that make sense? All right, if you're not comfortable in front of a camera, and not everybody is, and you know who you are, right? Has anyone seen that where the light turns on and then all of a sudden you're kind of, I will now tell you about orthodontics. Has anyone seen that? You're better off not doing a video, okay? Because now their perception of you is, oh God, I cannot go into that office every 6 to 8 weeks. The next 2 years of my life, I can't do it. All right, so don't do that. So practice in front of a mirror or something if you're going to do it, or if you have somebody on your team that's really good and excited, you have a treatment coordinator that's great in front of a camera, use them. All right, so whatever you can do to make sure that's good. Otherwise, slideshows. Take some photos. have a reason to put up a video with photos, put the slideshow together. There's all kinds of tools to do that. Some of them are even free. And put some music on it, right? So you don't want just a slideshow. If you do a voiceover, you can do a voiceover, but jump up and down a little bit before you do, otherwise you'll still have that droning effect. But punch it up, get some music behind it, and it'll be great. Put it up there, and it'll pop up. Chances are it won't stay for a year or two. It'll stay for a couple of weeks. That's why you want to do it again. All right, so just have a process. Screen capture. Has anyone heard of Camtasia? It's this cool little piece of software. It's not very expensive. There are some free tools, ScreenFlow, I think, for Mac, things like that. And you can, let's say you wanted to show a case. You're just really excited about it. It's a great smile, or maybe you had a celebrity come through the office. Rather than try to do a talking head, you can just do a screen capture, and that means that it's recording what you see on your screen as you speak. Then put some music underneath it so that it moves along a little bit, all right? Very easy to do. There's also whiteboard-style animation videos. Has anyone seen that, where you see the hand start drawing? What's amazing is that the stick rate, meaning how long people will watch a video where they see the hand doing that, is double without it. And then I catch myself, I'm like, oh, I can't believe that, and I catch myself going, what are they going to draw? What are they going to draw? What's next? What are they doing? What's the story? And that's kind of what happens. So whiteboard videos are great, and there's software now that can do that for you, so you don't have to pay somebody $2,000, $3,000 to map out a whiteboard and actually do the drawing. And that's what it was a year ago. It's about $2,000 to $3,000 to have about a 45-second video of somebody literally drawing on a whiteboard, wiping it off, and drawing it again. Got expensive, but it did work. So now you can do it really inexpensively, and it still has the effect. So use your imagination. Play around with it. Video is huge. Now, one of the main reasons that I'm talking about video is because you have that 50 times better chance of getting it to show up. So remember when I put in brackets, you can control what people see? What a great way to control what people see if they're looking for reviews on you. I've actually gotten 4 videos to show up for a client that got blasted by somebody that was taken to collections. We've all had this terrible experience. What are you going to do? Well, we took control of the first 2 pages. So now instead of everything is scary, oh, I don't think I want to go to this office, there's like one thing left. And if you go look at it, we've also filled it up with positive things. So it's like most people can make that determination and go, probably somebody that's a little upset. So video is a huge, huge opportunity to do that. So you really can control what people see. And have I mentioned video is good to do that? Okay. Delight your patients and be easy to work with. I remember the day, this is not that long ago, where as long as you were good at what you did, you gave the patient what they needed, everybody was happy. And you had a nice growing practice. Everything was good. Then, as competition increased and people's expectations start to increase, and we start seeing an influx of media pushing things like Invisalign, getting straight to consumer information, then what we start to see is good isn't enough. You got to be great. Because everyone's great now. So we have to be great in order just to stay on par. Now the shift is, you want to grow your practice with the amount of competition that we're seeing, with all of the ads that are going on, you want to delight them. You want to be exceptional. You want to create that experience. Now, one thing that I have seen over and over in the 12 years that I was going in and out of offices is the bigger the personalities in the office, whether it was the doctor, the treatment coordinator, the team, the bigger the personalities, the busier the office. So what that's telling us is that people kind of assume you're going to give them decent treatment. They want an experience. Because they're coming in there on a regular basis over the course of a few years, they're more concerned about what that experience is going to be like. So you have to have something in place, a system, a process to really, really capture them, delight them, make them thrilled. So how do we do that? Promote remarkable patient service. So create a service culture. So a happy team equals happy patients. And when I talk about a service culture, I'm talking about every little aspect of the practice needs to be thinking about how you're being perceived. Who here in the room is a salesperson? Every single one of you better be raising your hands. Now, I've had people say, I can't sell. I'm not a salesperson. I want to do that. How many people are married, been on a date? You're a salesperson, okay? Get over it. You're always selling something, whether it's an idea, yourself, your passions, whatever it is. The more you think about how to sell that to someone else, the better things go in general. So everyone says, I've got 2 kids now. They're like, well, what do you want them to be when they grow up? I don't care as long as they can sell. Because life is just easier. So really think about that. So don't resist this idea. And if you're the one who answers the phone and you woke up on the wrong side of bed, get someone else to answer the phone. Costs a fortune to have a crabby person answering phones. A fortune. I can't count the number of times that my wife and I have called to create appointments, whether it's for us, for our kids, and the phone conversation was such a downer, we went, let's go somewhere else. Because no way do you think it's going to get better. Now you're in person. This is your first opportunity to impress me, and I am not, in fact, I don't really want to go. And then there's an office where, I'm not going to tell you where it is because you can't have her. This woman, Kathy, absolutely outstanding. She calls me to remind me of an appointment, and more often than not, she has to call me to tell me they have to change my appointment. But because she's so energetic, so happy, so nice to me, that I'm never upset, like, hey, no problem, Kathy. I'm not going to make your life harder. You're terrific. I walk in the door, she said, Brian, let me see the latest pictures of your kids. And, I'm looking at my phone going, Kathy, right, it's Kathy. Well, now I know she's looking at a computer that says, hey, it's Brian, he's got 2 kids. But I still feel terrific about it. Okay, so she's helping create that experience. And then I go in there and I've got somebody putting me in pain. I mean, it does not feel good when I go there, but she is helping kind of bridge that gap and make it a pretty good experience. So I'm not going, I got to go to that office again, and I already know my mouth's going to hurt when I'm done. I'm not thinking about that because I have a nice experience. Am I driving this home enough? Yes, I have a lot of doing that. Yes, okay, good. Establish some metrics and rewards that promote this good patient experience. So I can't really do that for you. You have to know what's going on in your practice. Everyone has sort of like a team huddle once a day, once a week, once a month, once a quarter, something like that. Okay? When you do that, sit down and say, okay, we need to make sure that we're creating an experience here. How can we measure it? What can we measure? Or what can we fix? What can we change? Who needs to be in the lab and not up front? Right? Cross-train so that you can do that. Because it does happen. We all have bad days. All right. Encourage all team members to collect testimonials. You never know at what point somebody is going to say, man, this has been great. I'm so thrilled with my smile. So you, as the doctor, might not be standing in front of them when that happens, but somebody is because they're wanting to tell someone. So make sure that you've trained everybody on how to ask for that review, that testimonial. I don't recommend that you get a whole bunch of testimonials, put them on your website, and call them testimonials. Does everyone know what we think of? I mean, when you think of a testimonial, what do you think? You're about to tell me how great you are. So call it raving reviews, what patients are saying about us, something other than a marketing term like testimonial. But for the sake of ease, we call them testimonials because essentially that's what they are. But once you're putting them out, call them something else. Make sure you have a system to do that. Collect those.
Question.
Yes?
Are you talking about testimonials that are signed by the people? I mean, when I say signed, that have their name on it? Or are you talking about something more private?
No, so, okay.
Issues with
HIPAA and everything. Yeah, absolutely. So let me I'll break it down to sort of value of reviews. Video, audio, photo and review, just written. If you can get a signature on any of them, it's even better. Get permission. Absolutely get permission. You don't want to mess around with that. Because the reality is, once something's online, it lives there forever in zeros and ones. Now we can go and we can take down a video, we can remove stuff, but you know what? It's still living on a server somewhere as zeros and ones forever. So get permission. Let them know you'd like to use it for social media. If you don't have social media, let them know you'd like to put it on your website. If you have social media and a website, put it on both. But get that permission. Make sure that that's going to be okay. Now what we find is that generally when you have a form that says, here's what we'd like to do, is it okay if we do that? Check here, and we want you to give us your okay. Now I always say, give me your okay. Again, I'm a sales guy, so in marketing we don't say signature, and we don't say contract. Right? We say, give me your okay on this agreement, because it's a little bit more comfortable for people. But it's their signature on a contract that says it's okay. And let people know it's okay to say no. I mean, you have enough activity in your practices that you can get something going on. So absolutely get that permission. Does that answer your question? Yes, no? Yeah, no, you're writing. I appreciate. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
All right. Typically speaking, when we collect reviews through our systems, I'll have somebody a lot of times they'll put in their first and last name. I'll go in and take out the last name, just to be safe. We'll never what's called tag a photo. So especially if you've got kids, right? Parents, kids are like, oh, we'd love to see him in a YouTube video. That'd be great. Get that signed off, but then don't put their name in there. I'm not comfortable with it, even with all of the checkoffs, and then it's all approved. You just don't know, and I prefer just to leave it without their name. The kids, they'll do it. You don't have to. They'll end up doing it. They go, hey, look, I'm in this video, and then they tag it and put it on their blog, whatever it is, their Facebook, so they know how to make all that happen. So I don't recommend that you do it. Questions? Thoughts? Sorry, that was for me. All right. Share the praise with the team. Everyone can think of somebody in their office that's sort of in the back that doesn't really interact with the patient. They're probably really good at what they do, and they would love to have you walk back and say, you know what patient Johnny just said? That they just loved this part of their treatment, and I wanted you to know, thank you for doing such a wonderful job. Tell them when people are happy with what they do, it elevates everybody. So absolutely make that happen as much as you can. Say thank you. Edible arrangements, if somebody is sending you a ton of referrals, or they're going out of their way to write you a lot of reviews all over the internet, say thank you in a big way for those people. This was kind of well, let me go through this. So Postagram, I was recently told about this. It's an iOS tool. It's supposed to be really, really cool. I use Android, so I have no idea how cool it might be. But I was told it as a really nice way to use it. So if you have an iPhone, give it a shot. Handwritten notes. 45 cents, a little bit of time, patient and referral source for life. That is absolutely off the charts. Do you know how often we get handwritten notes these days, especially in the mail? When was the last? Can anyone remember the last time they got a note in the mail that was like a little thank you note? Yeah, one. When was the last time any of you sent out a little thank you note in the mail, handwritten? All right, we got one, two, maybe, three. Okay, good. All right, great. Love to see that. So, and I'm the worst. Now, I even figured out how I can automate it. Right, so you can put back your handwriting can be put into software, so you can type something out, have it shipped out, and then it will automatically process and send out a card. I really shouldn't do that. You should just handwrite it. My handwriting is so bad that no one can read it, so that's my excuse. All right, so I want you thinking about ways to say thank you. The story that I like to tell here is there was a chiropractor, not sure, it's probably about 10 years ago. It doesn't matter where he's from. He was somewhere in the Midwest. The point is, what he did, he started a practice, lots of competition, wasn't sure how he was going to market because, well, it just got bright. He didn't know how he was going to market because he didn't have any money, because he didn't have any patients, so he didn't have any cash flow. So what does he do? So he starts a whole system for getting people to refer to him. And those that referred were invited to a luncheon. That wasn't anything crazy and fancy at first, but if somebody referred two people inside of, let's say, 3 months, they're coming to this luncheon. And then what did he do at the luncheon? He didn't just feed them. He had somebody from the community come and talk and give them some information about the community, about something that they were interested in. So there was value to the people that came. And then he gave out prizes. The person who gave the most referrals, the most new patients from that person, got a plaque. Now that plaque is sitting on their desk. And people are like, what's that? Wow, that's pretty powerful. So then he kept doing it. And then more and more people wanted to go to that luncheon because they heard about how great it was. And sure enough, yeah, hey, let's not pretend. He filled it with family members at first. I mean, he did not have a whole lot going on there, but nobody had to know that. And suddenly, people wanted to be going to that luncheon. How do you go to the luncheon? You got to refer. You got to get somebody in the practice. Oh. And then the person that had the plaque the first time, this typically happens. There's like 1 or 2 people in every practice, and for you it's turning more, but there are those people, we call them mavens. And those are the people that know everybody, that talk to everybody, and can't wait to share their opinion and have it be accepted. Find those people, and what this guy did was he created these plaques, and every time that this woman would win again, she'd get a little ruby put into the plaque, or a little diamond put into the plaque. So her plaque was suddenly the source of pride, and people wanted the plaques, because they wanted to have that source of pride. So it fed on itself. He was the busiest practice in his town. It took him a year. Does that mean you have to create an entire system around creating these lunches and plaques? I'm not saying you have to do that. But what I am trying to get you to think about is be creative. You don't have to do what everybody has always done. Don't just do the muffin run. Okay? We all know what the muffin run is. Everyone's doing it. Well, but I do ice cream. Everybody's got their own little gimmick, but it is just a muffin run, and everyone kind of says, hey, thanks, really appreciate it. And oh yeah, cards, great. And they go into the same drawer that they've always been in with the 3 or 4 other offices that are doing the muffin run. So think of ways that you can do that. So that's kind of me saying yes. Everything that we do is about online marketing, but boy, there's a whole lot of fun, cool stuff you can do offline. Doesn't always have to be on. So collecting feedback, referrals, testimonials, or reviews. Use paid or free survey tools. I actually like SurveyMonkey. I used to use it a lot. It's a free tool. If you pay for it, yeah, you get some kind of neat little features that you don't really need for your purposes. So you can use it for free. Set it all up, ask some basic questions, and the question can be as simple as, were you satisfied, or even were you thrilled with your experience at our practice? Yes? No? It's good information to have, right? If you see a heavy weight or a surprisingly large weight of no, you got to fix something. Then you might want to put out a survey that's asking for more detail. Why not get a quick yes or no? People fill that out, right? You're not saying, hey, if you just give me 10 minutes, we'll put you in a raffle where you're never going to win. No. Ask them for something really simple. If you want, you can ask them for their information, but you don't have to have it. So this is a really nice little tool, and the fact that it's free, there's just no excuse. It takes about 10 minutes to set up. No big deal. So a yes or a no is pretty nice to have. We've actually set up entire pages of data gathering and taking the surveys that were being put in the mail that were never being mailed back, and we're putting them online, and they'll get filled out a little bit more. But we're still asking for a whole lot, and so the engagement is low, as people start looking at that whole page and going, oh, I don't have time, I only have 2 minutes. So, yes or a no. Hell, that's 3 questions. Quick little yes or no, 3 questions, gives you a ton of data. Questions about that? Has anyone ever tried that before? No? Give it a try. Set up channels for receiving voluntary feedback. All right, so we're talking about ways to actively collect. What about the people that are like, hey, I'd love to write something nice about them, I'm in a good mood? Make that easy. Don't make them try and track it down. By the way, did anyone try to find the address for this place on a phone? It's like 13 pages trying to find it. Like, just don't make it hard. I kept pressing get directions. It wasn't. I couldn't believe how hard a hotel this big can't make a simple mobile website with a map. Like, come on. I want to call or I want to get there. Right? Make it easy. All right, so how do we do that? How do we solicit without soliciting? Email signatures. If you know that you need a couple of good reviews on your Google Places page, pop the link into your signature. Yelp, do the same thing. Don't put 6. Just put 1. Pick 1. You can change it out every once in a while. Web forms. Yeah. So when you get an email from me, you're going to see my basic information, like my name, email, phone number, a little picture of my logo. So that's a signature that you can set up once, and it just goes out every time. You can set up multiples. You can set up like 6 different versions and choose which one you want. But it's really that simple. So when you do it, you can put an actual HTTP link right in there. And so it's clickable. Anything else about signatures? If you're going to do a signature and it's got a lot going on in it, make sure that you don't do like a fancy email layout. You get those where it's like blue and green and all these fancy colors, and then you're waiting for it to load, and then you can't read it. Right? Black text, white background, nice little signature. You can even put logos of where you'd like people to review. Don't ever assume that people are going to know what to do if you put a link in the signature. So it's not just the link. It's, if you'd like to write us a review, please click here. So tell them what to do. I actually I'm going back and forth with a client. We're building them a website, and they are adamant that they don't need their phone number at the top. I'm sorry, I thought you wanted people to call you. Really? Well, it's too big, and I want my logo bigger. But no one knows who you are. No one knows what your logo looks like or should look like. How many places will I find your logo other than your website? None. So how about we make the phone number huge and on every page so that I don't have to dig around to find it? Right? So it's about making it easy. So don't ever assume. The other thing is same client. They said, we don't need to tell them to click the button to submit. Come on, it's intuitive. No, it's not. If you don't tell them what to do, they won't do it. And if you ever want to get some ideas, you've probably heard me say this over and over again. If you ever want ideas on how to tell people what to do and have them like you for it, go to Disney.com. Just read through their stuff, and you'll realize about every third sentence they're pretty much telling you what to do, and you're going, okay, that sounds great, because it's the happiest place on earth. All right? So telling people what to do is important. It's not like, because you're not, and don't put exclamation points. So exclamation points are shouting. You don't want to shout at them. Just say, hey, click here to do that. Click here for this. You want this? Do that. Really, really simple. All right, so web forms. That means that you can put something on your site itself, or on another site, or on your blog. Fill this out. Give us a review. Boom. Now it's in your database. You can pull it up whenever you want, see what's going on. Ask for as much information as you want. Keep it simple if you want to get a lot of people to fill it out. But you can do web forms. It's really no problem. So on your blog, put links in your blog to review sites. Why not? And again, if you put it in there, tell them to click it to leave you a review. And even say, we'd love to get a review from you. We'd love for you to share your experience with the world. Click here. Really simple. Yeah? So the question is, if they want to write a review on Google plus Local, do they have to have a Gmail account? Yes. All right, so what's happened is that Google said, all right, we're spending a ton of money on this whole system, on Zagat, on everything that we're doing. And we just created the absolute biggest, best social media site called Google+, competing with Facebook. And we are going to make you sign up to do anything. And people sort of do. Most people, if they have a Gmail account, or they have a Google Drive, or they have Google Docs, they have any of those free services that Google offers. A lot of people think, oh, they're so altruistic, they just love to give us free stuff. They want your data. They want your access. Most people are logged into that, and they don't know how to log out. And I actively have to log out of everything because I'm working with so many different clients that if I stay logged in, it will affect results. It will affect what I see. So I won't know if what I'm seeing is accurate. So yeah, Big Brother is watching, and you're happy about it. That's what's kind of amazing. Now, if they click on to write a review, Google's very good at it. They'll say, we'd love for you to write a review, either log in or fill this out. It's very, yeah, right. So if they don't have a review, if they don't have an account, or they're not logged in, so if you're looking at the page, it'll be fill this out. It's this quick little form, or click to log in. So they're very good at that. And what they're doing is they're building up this database, and people kind of joke, if you want anyone to see it, put it on Facebook, and if you want it to, to wither up and die, put it on Google+. But it's still data, and it's still Google, and Google is determining who sees what, when, and where. Put it on Google. Put it on Google. All right, invoices and receipts. Have you ever thought about that? Well, you got a printout, right? Handing people stuff on a regular basis. Put some marketing on there. Hey, write me a nice review. We'd love to hear from you. Give them a little link. Tell them what to do. Are you going to all of a sudden get 30 reviews tomorrow? No. Might get a couple. And it didn't really cost you anything but a little extra ink. Newsletters. So all of you that aren't doing newsletters, and I know after today you will start, put the link into your newsletter. Ask them to write a review. And you can rotate that. Are we good on time? Yes. All right, great. Plan. Process is always better than improvisation. Always, always. So make sure that you have a plan so that when you do need to be reactive, it's easy. And you don't have to be as personal. 9 times out of 10, I ask clients when they need to respond to a bad review, I said, please send it to me first. Now, it's not because I'm a better writer. I'm terrible. It's because I'm going to take the emotion out of it. All right? Because it hurts. I don't want to see bad stuff, and especially online, because everyone can see it. So it is emotional. I understand that. So give yourself a little break. All right. So you develop a process for responding to that negative buzz before you need it. So you can just say, okay, let's just go do that. Frustrating as it is, we still have to do that. So 8 steps. What are we going to do to make this as easy as possible and make it work? Listen. So if you're reading a bad review and your blood's boiling, you're like, they've never even been in my office. Who are they? I mean, that happens. You start to get frustrated. Take a deep breath, actually read through it, because maybe there is something there for you to learn from, or so that you can make sure that that's fixed or never happens again. Then decide whether or not you want to engage. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're like, well, this is a crazy person. Everyone that reads this is going to know this is a crazy person. I'm not going to engage in this. And sometimes that's okay. If you decide to engage, apologize. And I'm sure some of you are tightening up going, but I didn't do anything wrong. These people are nuts. The result's fantastic. I don't understand. Just apologize. Be the bigger person. No one's perfect. And when people see negative reviews and they see that you have sort of stepped up and said, hey, we're really sorry that happened to you. Here's what we want to do to make it right. And they see you as being accountable, taking ownership, and you're now a more trustworthy person. So don't shy away from that. Just apologize. All right? It won't hurt as much as you think it will. Especially if you write it, send it to me, and I'll put it out.
Is there a way when someone posts something on your website that you know is ferocious, or whatever the word is, which is incorrect? How do you get that off? Or how can you respond to that so you can give
All right, so the question is, if somebody, and I'm going to broaden it a little bit, if somebody posts a negative review and you want to somehow mitigate it, is there a way to respond to make it go away? Is that essentially the question?
Or at least respond so people see the designs.
Okay, so one of the major reasons that we want you to have access to your account in Google is they give you the ability to click respond. So you can respond right there in Google. Just log into your account, respond to that negative review. Yelp has the same thing. Again, just be prepared for a lot of phone calls from Yelp trying to sell you. But it is actually nice to know that, okay, well, if I got a bad review and somebody's saying negative things, I have the opportunity to respond. And that's what we're talking about here, is that you do want to respond. Now, everyone says, hey, this is clearly a fictitious, and we see this, right? There are companies that will create multiple accounts, write bad reviews for you, and call you up, tell you you've got these bad reviews, we can make it go away tomorrow. Of course they can. They're just going to delete it from their account. That's terrible, but it happens. And sometimes you'll see, actually, Keys, we saw one where it was a description of your office. It clearly wasn't your office. This person had never been in the office, and then you start getting the calls. All right? It's extortion. Do we want to pay them to make it go away? Well, if it's $30, sure. Fine. You got your $30. Make it go away. Otherwise, absolutely not. And you don't know if they're just going to hit you up over and over again. Right? So that's the problem. Just ignore it. No big deal. That's the stuff where you can go, I don't know if I'm going to engage with that. Or you're going to respond and say, hey, this is confusing. Doesn't sound like my office. We're always looking for feedback, and we want to be helpful. So if you are reading this response, please call us. Let us know how we can make it right. Okay? Then you want to affirm. Make sure that you're affirming who you are, what you do, what you stand for. So it's not just, hey, I'm really, really sorry. I wish that didn't happen. That's so sad. No. Here's what we're going to do to make it right. Then, if you can, if you're reading it and you're going, I know exactly who this is, take it offline. Okay, don't call them out. Don't say, hey, I know you're Sally, and you haven't paid us in 6 months. And, no reason to do that. But you can certainly take it offline and say, we would love for you to contact us. We want to work it out. We know we make mistakes. Let us make it right. Even if you're going, there's nothing that we did wrong. Hey, when people read it, they don't know the truth. So you be the bigger person is going to help you in spades. There's a term for that in marketing that is called the damaging admission. So you get to say, yeah, we screwed up. Everybody screws up. And people actually trust you more when you're human, when you do that, when you say, yeah, we make mistakes. Of course we do. Everybody does. All right, so if you can take it offline, then you have a real opportunity. But then once all this is done, just move on. Reflect on it a little bit, because you might have just been given invaluable data on how to fix a problem in your office now. And then act on it. Is there something that you can change? Is there a process you have in place for taking all this information in and then giving it to a team or giving it to somebody saying, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? We need to fix that. So you can turn it into an opportunity. Build a referral system. I'm sure everybody knows that referrals are vital. But do you have a system like what we talked about with the chiropractor's office? Do you have something in place that engages with people, that makes them want to give you those referrals? So make it active, make it methodical, make it a process. And you will get more referrals that way. Consider some kind of a referral reward system, and that's why I gave that whole story, because if you have some kind of a reward, it doesn't have to be monetary. Just acknowledging people in a public way is extremely powerful. So finding ways to do that is huge. Even if it's, biggest referrer of the month, you take their picture, put it up on the wall, put flowers or something around it, sparklers, I don't care. Something that helps them stand out, makes them feel really good so they want to do it again. All right, we've covered all of the basics. All right, we're good. We got 10 minutes. What does all this essentially mean to you? How do we break all this down into what should you go do? So what procedures do you currently use to gain reviews? Really want you thinking about that. You want to know that if you get a negative review, you know that you can just sort of pick up the pace and get a few more positive reviews in that area and make it all kind of go away. Can you incentivize your team? I know we have a few team people back there. You guys probably don't like incentives, do you? No? It is a great idea. Team lunch when a goal is met, so everybody's engaged, everybody's involved. That's a good one. Internal competition with some monthly prizes. And it could just be getting those reviews. Now, if you're feeling like you don't really know where to get started with reviews, put together a little postcard that says, tell us about your experience, maybe prompt them with, my treatment has been, and then write it out. Little check mark for approval to use it on the internet for your marketing, and you're out. Okay? Then that can actually be pushed out in other ways. You can put that all over your website. I mean, you can start utilizing that. So that is probably the easiest, fastest way. Put together a little postcard, make sure that everybody has them, and if you have an incentive, you're going to start getting a lot more of those. If you have a little video camera, have that laying around. Would you be comfortable saying that in front of the camera? People would love to hear from you. Take the quick recording. Hey, you happy with it? Terrific. Make sure you're okay with it. We're going to use that on YouTube. Is that cool? Boom. Done. All right, so if everybody's engaged with that, it's not just one person trying to make sure that that happens and drive that horse. Everybody wants it to happen because they're going to have some team benefit or some individual benefit, something. Paid time off, I was surprised. There actually some good studies on this. Paid time off is more valuable to most people than cash. Just knowing that you could take a Monday off, get paid for it, have a great day, pretty good deal. So something to consider. Provide those thank you gifts that we talked about to the patients who review and or refer. Email happy patients with a link to your review site. And all of those tools, most of us have, Sesame, Televox, Smile Reminder, all of those. You can send out blast emails, and you can say, hey, I want to pull up the people that were in here just this week, or people that are just within this category, and send them out an email and ask for a review. Don't send out 450 or 6,000 emails asking for a review. You might be surprised and start getting a ton of reviews all at once, and they'll all get filtered because they all happen in the same 2 or 3 day span. So space it out. Otherwise, all the big aggregators like Google will say, hey, that doesn't look natural. All right? Contact those who left negative reviews in an effort to fix the issue. So if you know who it is, step up and see if you can't fix it. Make it right for them. And then resolved, ask if they'll amend or change their review. Politely. Questions? No? All right. Nothing? Yeah, okay. Because there's a little more.
Those negative reviews, when I looked, there was no name, no nothing, just a review.
Yeah, 90% are going to be anonymous.
So how do you contact them?
Well, there's no way for you to go and dig in and try to figure that out. Most of the time, there'll be some kind of a trigger event. And
You just call them, go back and look, say this patient's an idiot.
well, you can. They won't care. Oh, and good luck finding a phone number for Google. I actually found a way to get in touch with Google. It's 16 steps. It was the most confusing thing, but I figured it out. So most of the time, you can kind of see the trigger event. They'll say, I can't believe this happened. You can bring it to the staff meeting and say, anyone know who this is? And they go, oh, right, yeah, that's Sally. So more often than not, you'll be able to figure that out. Any other questions? Yeah.
With all this stuff you presented to us, how can your company make life easier for us?
Well, part of what we do is take that on. Right? So when it comes to what happens in your office, and that's why I talked a lot about your process, your systems, we help you put those processes and systems in place. We give you tools so that all of this can start happening automatically. And then we take on the pressure of how do we get those reviews online. We create a whole system online for filtering reviews. So one of the nice things is that with new software, and because we can kind of control what people see when they're looking for reviews on you, we create a whole system where we ask for the review, we send them to a page that we're in control of, and they write a review, and if it's a 4-star or better, the next page is, we'd love for you to share that with the world. Please either share it on any one of these tabs, and we can do as many as we want. We can do Google, Yelp, City Search, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, you name it. We usually just do 3, sometimes 4, and then that can get pushed out to those places. And the best thing is for them to log into their own account at home to do it. But sometimes we're not going to get that, so we also have ways to do it in your office. And then we can push it out. So there's a lot that we help you create, so it's not just, oh my God, I have this huge list of stuff to do. There's still stuff that we can't do. We're not in your office. And so we need you to do those things. But we'll help you make sure that there's systems in place. Good? All right. Big takeaway. You can't control what people say about your practice, but you can exercise some control over the larger conversational context. And that's why I kept talking about pushing your content out, getting your information out, getting your videos out. Get as much positive stuff out there as you can, and you're helping to influence that conversation. So proactive ORM is all about making sure you're adding enough to the conversation to ensure that that ratio is more positive than negative. That's it. All right. Oh, do you guys want these action steps?
Oh, yeah.
I think I've given them to you about 3 times, but I threw them in there last night just in case you didn't all get these written down. And I'm sorry. If you want, we could just leave this up for a minute. But essentially, first thing when you go home, claim those listings. If you need help, let me know. Reply to most of your reviews, good or bad. Don't reply to all of them. That's a little bit overboard. And that's why we talked about how you can decide if you want to engage or not. But if somebody's giving you a really great review, don't ignore that. Say thank you. That's awesome. Take advantage of that. Set up that Google alert. Put your name, your business name, a couple of keywords like your area and orthodontics, braces, Invisalign, something like that if you want to track that as well. Yeah.
You have to enter a separate alert for each keyword, or can you comment separate?
Yeah, great question. If you're creating your alert, do you have to create multiple alerts for multiple keywords? And the answer is no. You can do that comma separation. And usually I'll categorize them, so I mean, if you've got tons. But if you're talking about 5 keywords total plus your name, yeah, put all in one. Then you can skim through it and you're in good shape. If you're going to put a lot of keywords, more than 2 or 3, make a separate Google alert because you're likely to end up with a lot of data. And I'd rather you be able to quickly look at your stuff, and it might be 0. It might be, hey, nothing happened this week. Okay, great. And then you can go scan through the other, rather than trying to scan through the other to find you. Does that make sense? All right. Create all that positive content, videos, articles, press releases, social media. Get it out there. Control your reputation as much as you can. Create a system to gain those online reviews for your practice and get it all going. Want me to leave it up? Are we all good? I'll leave it up. All right. That's it. Take it away. All right.
Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, I want to thank you on behalf of the entire organization for all you've done and putting this together.
Thank you.
You're really inspiring us to change how we practice, and there's a lot of take-home stuff that we appreciate.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.